Hello and welcome back. Today we are starting a new series we are calling Composer Showdown. This is where we're going to take one theme written by a composer and then Tom and Adam are going to rework that theme into the style of two different composers. It's going to be awesome. As you can tell by the title, we've started with some pretty big names today. We've got Avengers, Hans Zimmer and John Williams. I don't think you can start any better than that. We're going to see how it goes. It should be very fun. Tom and Adam, how are you feeling?
Nervous? Yeah, a little bit. It's going to be it's going to be interesting. But I mean, it's going to be fun.
We sound riveted. We sound well up for this. Doesn't sound like I've just made you do this at all.
With this trepidation, we're casually trying to write a piece in the style of Williams or Zimmer based on Alan Silvestri. These are big boots to fill.
Yeah. So Alan Silvestri's Avengers theme is, one of the best known themes of probably the 20th century cinema. And now we've got two of the biggest names in 20th century cinema writing. You're writing in this style of them. So just for a bit of context, Avengers theme, like normal, sounds like this. Have we got any preferences on who we want it to be? Or you don't really mind?
I feel like I want to hear what Adam would do with John Williams with this, because he seems very excited about that in the discussion we had about this. Like just what you could do with the B section and all this. And I was like, Monk, he clearly has an idea of what he would do. I have no idea.
Easiest way to pick who's going to do what. Last time we did a rock, paper, scissors, which, is fine, but they're not in the same room this time. Obviously, they're in their own studios. So I told them we were going to do a quiz. We're not going to do a quiz. We're going to do something even more fun. I'm going to time you. You're both going to share your screen with me. And the first person to write either JW or HZ in MIDI on their screen gets to pick the composer that they do. Your time starts.
Oh my God.
3, 2, 1, go.
God,
This is ridiculous.
It can either be one note or lots of single notes. And you can play it in if you want to, if you can figure it out.
that's not going to happen.
Tom's going to do, is he doing an H? Yeah, he's doing an H, I think. What's Adam doing?
I got no idea what I'm doing.
Oh, Adam's doing a J. They're doing different people. Okay, I'm just going to have to commentate because they're concentrating far too much to actually say anything. Oh, we've got an H. We've got an H. Oh. Oh, that's not bad, Adam. We've got a J. Oh.
Done. Exclamation
that
mark.
was very close. I do think Tom just beat you, Adam.
No. Okay, that's fair.
Okay, right. We have a JW, the best looking JW in the world. Is that an exclamation mark after that?
I was shooting for the stars with the exclamation mark.
Wow.
I was one step away from drawing the face of John Williams.
Yes.
I was about to get going with it.
Okay, so Tom, you win. Now you can choose HZ or Hans Zimmer if you want, or you can pick John Williams. What do you think is easier? What do you want to do?
I reckon for this challenge, I think we go with what we've drawn. I'm going to go HZ, Adam go with JW. Why not?
Okay, Tom's got Hans Zimmer, Adam's got John Williams. They both have more than an hour. They've got a day to do this. We're chatting again on Wednesday. Today's Monday, which I know makes it 2 days, but Adam's got a stream tomorrow. So basically, they have an allotted period of time to do this in. You get to watch along. I don't get to watch along because I have other work to do. But we'll come back at the end. We'll have a listen. We'll have a watch, and we'll see how it gets on. Good luck, guys. See you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is going to be an interesting challenge. What if John Williams did the Avengers theme? This is a bit of a double-edged sword because on the one hand, there's certain similarities between Alan Silvestri and John Williams. They come from a similar kind of background in terms of they're very big orchestral writers, and they've come through that great tradition of sort of 80s, Steven Spielberg-style movie making. Obviously, Alan Silvestri's done things like Back to the Future, which has a lot of those kind of feel-good 80s sounds going on. But the Avengers theme, as Alan Silvestri wrote it, is probably a lot more bold and kind of, I would describe it as square compared to his old stuff. Now, I don't mean that in a disparaging way. It's just the modern scoring tends to be a lot more direct, particularly big themes. They're catchy, bold, and they're sort of straight on the nose. And he's gone more of that modern route, which actually makes this kind of difficult.
All right, here we go. So I've got an idea. I'm thinking an ambient intro, then we transition into a section where We have like short strings building an ostinato. We'll figure that out and then build up, have big brass eventually playing the melody and big driving percussion. Something like that. Change up the harmony maybe towards the end. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know how this is going to go.
What I'm thinking is John Williams writes overtures. That's really how he approaches main themes. He will start with a statement of the main theme. So think of Star Wars, think of Indiana Jones, think of Superman, because Superman's probably going to be a big reference for this. He'll start with a statement of the main theme, and then he'll break it down into usually a more kind of lyrical section, but usually a different section, and then he might bring the main theme, or he very often does bring the main theme back in a kind of new and fresh way.
So here's something interesting. During the intro, when we were doing that kind of MIDI challenge, doing the initials of the composers, I slightly panicked thinking, which door do I choose? Because I'm currently learning Cubase. That's right. Do I do Cubase or Logic? At this point, I'm faster in Logic. So let's do Logic. But I'm thinking I want to go up. I think this could be cool. And at that point we have a something like that. Let's add more to these drones, get some more interest. These are going to be... And we're doing this in D minor, of course, because Hans Zimmer. This will need some mixing, but I've got an idea for the second half maybe.
I have a slightly more rhythmic and bouncy version of the main theme here. So we start off with these big strident low strings, I think they're going to be, and then we just get this sort of bouncier version. It's just this... But I've tried to treat it in that more sort of bouncy, flowing kind of way, because I just don't think... It stated in that way, that's not really the way I think John Williams would approach things. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that he would do something different rhythmically, and I think we have to do that to try and get the John Williams feel. I think we're going to go for just these sort of strident, it's like a Superman style, these low strings underneath providing the rhythm. Then we have this melody with some of the chords, some of the harmony outlined from the Avengers theme. I have this idea here, which I've just sketched in. I'm probably going to change it, but this idea of like a little trumpet flourish at the top. This is going to be horns, I think. Little trumpet flourish at the top. I have this idea for trombones. I don't know if it's going to make it. I just chucked it in. Don't think it's going to work. I'm trying to do counter melody here, so have a listen to this. We play a second version of the same theme, but I'm thinking about maybe having a counter melody. John Williams often makes use of counter melody and these kinds of, statements of themes followed by, little counter melodies that weave in and around and underneath and through the theme. I want to try and get some of that. I think it's a John Williams hallmark, and I think all this stuff is moving and evolving so fluidly. That's the part we really need to try and get with this, I think.
So already like 30 seconds in, maybe we go like... Dun, 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 dun. Let's try some short strings ideas. This absolutely sucks with the delay from the screen recording software. I think it's time to switch to OBS soon. All these rhythmic things I might need to do without recording, because I don't know how I'm going to play this in without it sounding awful. You can see where I'm hitting that, right?
Now, I've been slightly bold here and basically just written a new section. I'm sorry in advance to John Williams and Alan Silvestri, two of my idols, and there's me just trampling all over the place. But again, like I said, I wanted to try and get this like idea of the overture in this second section. And if you ever think of Superman, you get the big da 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 da, you get that first big statement of the theme, and then you go into the da 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 da, really beautiful little section, playful, you know, that idea of something that's maybe on the kind of the woodwinds and maybe the horns, and just is a slightly different section. So we have this.
Those chords need to change there. So we could do maybe an A major there. That would sound cool. Dominant chord. Don't know if that's what I'll stick with. I will fix the programming with this later. I think I'm going to just dive in. I wouldn't normally advocate this, but I don't have a lot of time today. I really need to get a finished piece, but I think I need to start hearing the orchestration and start seeing how this comes together inside the virtual instruments. We're going to have a little breakdown section, and then we're maybe either going to repeat the A section, you know, again, slightly differently, or we're just going to do some kind of outro that makes use of the theme. I don't know, but I feel like once I get to this point, I'll have a good idea of what I'm going to do. All right, here we are. So I'm starting to build this up a bit more. I've done all the percussion stuff just because with the delay with trying to do this with ScreenFlow is ridiculous. So anyway, we've got like bigger back end. All right, got a few different things going on here, just layering together. Doesn't sound perfect, but we'll get to it in a bit. And then added a sub bass. We've got the brass, similar as before. And then together. Still needs some short strings. Something like that. Kind of got a sketch in the strings, then this is how this section's sounding. The only other thing I've added is some booms, some percussion building up, and we also have this thing here. It's quite nice, I think. All right, let's add some more stuff in to finish this off. I don't have much time left.
Okay, so I've been working on this for a while, and I figured today, rather than making you watch me go through all this stuff, because you guys see me do all this on stream, I'll walk you through the major elements of this. I think that's going to be a more fun way. You've heard the sketch. We'll just sort of go through what I've done so far. So here's the brass and the strings. Okay, so coming together, not sounding too bad. This is all pretty much Jaeger, a bit of Nucleus, and then Arraya for the strings. And I'm not using Dolce today. I don't have time. I'm just going to dive in and see what I can get done. So let's break all this down. Let's start looking at the strings. So we have this motor going on in the violas, just constant propulsion. I've changed this to a major seventh here. We'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. And then we have these low, strident kind of strings going on here. very Superman, very John Williams, just this kind of nice big march-like thing going on. I mean, I'm using Superman as a template because that's really the only Williams superhero stuff that we've got, so it makes sense to try and use that. I'm just doubling the brass with this performance legato as well on the second violins. Nice. And then in the brass, we just basically I've got the simple performance patch. I'm using a performance patch from Jaeger just to make things quick and easy. I'm doubling it with a bit of staccato just to give it a bit more oomph as well in places. But I've just got the main theme on the horns. Nice and simple. And then I've got the outline of the harmony on the trombones. So here's the trombones. Got a John Williams thing of just using those trombones in that kind of mid to upper range. Sounds really nice. So altogether the brass sounds like this. Now I've put a little best of my abilities Williams kind of trumpet flourish here, so you hear it. So just a really nice simple trumpet flourish, but that's a very Williams thing, is to fill these little pockets of space with something on the woodwinds or on the brass. There's never a dull moment. There's always, if there's a little space for something, a held note, it's nearly always the case that Williams is going to put some kind of flourish or interest in.
Mix is all over the place right now. I'm going to layer this in with maybe some arraya. Do I have arraya in this? I just have nucleus. Okay, nucleus it is then. Something like that.
So that's everything that's going on in that first section. Let's have a little look at the second section. We have the melody just being played. It's kind of this chordal melody, so these block chords in the horns, and then just the tubas playing these long held pedal notes. Just all in the sustain patch because it's such a dense section. We don't need to worry too much about the programming. Plus, don't really have time to go super detailed on the programming today. And then pretty much the same thing going on in the strings. We have a little figure in the violas that just changes. It kind of works okay. I'm not sure it's the most Williamsy thing, but that kind of changing of rhythm and things is quite a Williams thing. And then the basses go to this kind of more stabby staccato like sort of phrase just on the downbeats, just really picking at the downbeats. So here we go, have a listen to the way it changes. And then the violins are just playing the same as the horns, just to kind of fill in that melody. Very quiet in the mix. The only other thing really worth talking about here, I think, is a little build up at this point. So this is a very classic Williams thing, as we get towards the end of this phrase, we introduce these nice chords on the trombones. So if I just show you with the horns. that big sort of, crescendo there. And then as we get further into the phrase, we're really building, the frequencies out. So the trombones come in, and then of course on the upper side of this, we get the trumpets coming in just to provide that kind of upper frequency range.
I'm thinking of something like that. Let's just draw this in. Something like that. Sounds pretty Zimmerish from maybe a while ago, back in like the Batman days maybe. But this could work. Maybe we can do a rising sort of thing like this. Maybe in the cellos as well. Maybe there. Maybe here briefly we go to like a G chord.
Okay, let me talk about this sort of little middle section that I've now put together. So the star of the show really here is these violas, which are just playing this kind of interesting, incessant, repetitive pattern that's moving up and down these different chords. Sounds a bit weird in isolation, but it's actually quite a Williamsy thing to have these sort of rhythmic figures on things like the violas, sometimes the clarinets, which I've also done it in the clarinets here as well. That's just doubling the violas. Now, this doesn't make a lot of sense on its own. It just sounds like it's going all over the place, which it kind of is, but I tried to create some structure to it so it doesn't just sound too frenetic. And then to anchor this, really the star of the show here, why you've got all this crazy stuff going on, to give this some semblance of coherence, we have a statement of the theme in the horns, and it's one of those statements that it's different to the usual treatment of the theme, but it has reference to the theme because it's the same pattern and it's the same pitches. So that's really what's anchoring this down. Without that, it would be very frenetic and kind of wouldn't make a lot of sense. I think with the statement of the theme, it starts to make more sense. And so, yeah, all together without percussion, which I'll add, that just sounds like this.
And we need some big strings, I think. We really need this, yeah, like massive. A really lazy way of EQ. I'm tired of Logic now. There's so many, or at least how my template's created. This is, I need to move faster and I can't.
Okay, welcome back. I hope that was been very fun for you to watch. I'm just jumping in, and the first thing I'm going to say is let's all take a deep breath. And how much do we hate Logic now, Tom? Tom's been on the fence of going between Logic and Cubase, and I think we may have just pushed him over the edge, down the cliff, hit a couple of boulders on the way, and now he's just like, no.
Like I said at the start of this the writing section of this video, I was like, I was debating between Logic and Cubase, and then, yeah, here we are. I know what I'm doing next time.
It's been made for you, right? I'm very much excited to see. I'm going to sit there with my popcorn, watching the edit of you trying to put this together when it's ready. But yeah, we're back. It's a different day. The guys have written their pieces. We're going to take a listen. Are you glad you chose Hans Zimmer, Tom?
I think so, yeah, because if I was having these issues and trying to do like super intricate, like John Williams stuff, I'd be even more frustrated, I think. So, yeah.
Adam, how was yours?
It was actually quite tough. Yeah, it was, as you said, there's a lot going on, and it's hard. There's some parts of Alan Silvestri that's very similar to John Williams, and some parts, at least for the Avengers theme, that's very, very different. So trying to make it work, I almost had to rework the theme slightly, which you'll see. But yeah, it was good fun.
What was the library you used? Any particular standouts, highlights? Ones that you never want to touch again?
I mostly I used Array for the strings that sounded pretty good, and mostly Jaeger and Nucleus, really. Mine's pretty, I didn't use any sound design at all. So it was all the bread and butter stuff, but
Shocking.
Sounds good.
I didn't expect any of those libraries to be used. That's crazy. Tom, you? Any sound design quirks you've put in?
I would have liked to have done more sound design, but I used photosynthesis for the intro, for like I don't want to say what because you haven't heard it yet, but you'll see why. And then I used Talos and Dolce the most. Dolce shorts were fantastic for this, actually.
Yes. I think we're sleeping on Dolce shorts. Dolce shorts are great.
They're super, like, you'll hear it in the thing, but like the back end section, it's super driving, and that's just all Dolce.
That's because the whole like 8 dynamics thing is like that you just really get that top end bite that you might not get with something like Array, but there's only 3. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, let's take a listen. Should we do Tom's first?
I don't mind.
You choose, Ollie. You choose.
Yeah, we're doing Tom's first. Tom picked. Tom's got all the eggs in his basket. I want to see what he's up against.
The most frustrated composing session ever.
If there's not like a Scream cameo in here of you like kind of shouting at your computer, I'm going to be disappointed. Right, let's take a listen. Wow.
Very cool.
That is so cool. I don't really know what I was expecting, but that was like bang on. That's such a Hans track.
It was very cool. Love the build up of it. You know, it's a real good slow burn into that big back end. It was great.
And it's like you definitely the theme, but then completely reworked to be as epic and like, oh, so good.
Thanks, guys. Glad you like it. I would love to have like some more transition moments in between. That's what I've done if I had more time and just like iron things out. But the general idea is there for sure.
Awesome. Okay. Very much a Hans Zimmer style track. Let us know what you think down in the comments, but we're not done. Let's take a listen to Adam's John Williams. How do you think John Williams would react to this, Adam?
Oh my goodness. He probably have a few notes, that's for sure.
Okay.
I've tried to, it was kind of difficult because there was no way I was ever going to do a full-on John Williams overture. So I tried to do it more like somewhere between a theme and a kind of action cue using the theme, and just try and get as many kind of John Williams-y style flourish and the things in there. A few of the John Williams harmonies and things. But I don't think John Williams is particularly bothered. I don't think he's worried about his career. I don't think I'm coming for his throne anytime soon. But it was good fun. Good fun to get a few John Williams flourishes.
He'll get there one day. He will.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think he's going to be fine. I don't think he's going to lose any sleep over this one.
Awesome. All right, let's take a listen. Awesome.
Very cool.
That's like if Avengers met Star Wars, like, to a T.
Yeah, I just basically ripped off bits of Superman and Star Wars. And
I'm hearing a lot of Infinity War in there.
Yeah, can definitely. And it's like Tony Starwalker. That's what it is.
Tony Stark.
Cool. Did you use? I think you're using from like Alan Silvestri's original Avengers theme. It's like the A section. I think you're using that quite a bit.
Yeah.
In that, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was saying to Ollie, it's only when I listened to it for the first time I realised obviously there's different sections. I mean, it's one of those things. It's kind of, I knew it, but like I hadn't actually ever stopped to really think about it. That there's two quite different sections, and I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be quite hard to sort of do something with this that doesn't just sound too much like Alan Silvestri with a couple of flute runs or something, So
well, I do think that didn't sound like Silvestri. Like yours, Tom, yours was very much Zimmer, but like could be inspired a little bit by the main theme. But that was just, if somebody told me that wasn't Avengers, I think I would probably believe them. Like there was so much just like original stuff in there. So no, fab, really good, great. Okay, well, there is the end of our first Composer Showdown. Let us know what you think. Which one's better? Oh, sorry. There's a lot of shouting going on outside the office today. It's I don't really know what's happening.
It's Hans. He said.
Right, let us know what you think. That is the end of our first Composer Showdown. John Williams, Hans Zimmer, taking on Alan Silvestri. Let us know in the comments which composers you want to see, which themes you want to hear, which composers you want joining us. We'd love to get more of the community on this channel. We've been having great fun with our little Audio Imperia team, but we want to start meeting other people. We want to bring them in. We want to build our audience. So let us know who you want to see. Our net is kind of wide, so we're up for anything. Thank you both very much for doing that. I would say that actually, as good as those two are, I think Alan Silvestri held his own, Yeah,
it's unbeatable. It really is. Yeah. It's perfect.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. See you in the next one. Cheers.
Check. See if this records this. I probably should have turned off the microphone recording, but here we are, I guess. So just delete this.
So badass. Oh yeah. And then we had to go down south to find the gemstone. The only way to make it happen. Who knew that there would be the one and only Avengers. Assemble!